Hi there, and welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about fantasy books. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim, looking at my son kind of freezing up a little there. We had a little glitch on
I
your
didn't
end.
freeze on my end.
I know. We could hear you. You were. It happens sometimes. We can only do
Oh,
so
did you
much when
not
you're in
know I'm just a
Texas.
robot?
No, I know point blank. You are not a robot. I don't have to change robot diapers. Back in the day, man. No.
Yeah, you definitely don't have to change any diapers of mine in the past, 20 plus years either, so...
Let's see, thinking back. Yeah, okay. That's about right. It's good to see you. It's good to see all of you who are here to join us today. We're going to have some fun talking Wheel of Time again. But before we do that, Zach, how are you doing today, my son?
I'm all right. We've had mostly good weather here. I say mostly because last night for about an hour it decided randomly to thunderstorm.
I like the thunderstorm.
Oh yeah, I love it. Rolly's not a huge fan. And Rach was out of town just for a day here. I had to make a quick little trip, and so I made it up to my dog by telling him that Mom's out of town, so he doesn't have a bedtime. So we stayed up real late last night. It was great.
This is what parenting is going to be like someday. Got it. When Mom's away, we boys will play.
Anyway, how are you, Dad?
I'm fine, yeah. I'm having fun not putting my green screen up today. Since it's a Wheel of Time episode, I figured I'd show off some of the setup I've got going behind me now.
You've got up Wheel of Time cool swag. Fun things from Jordan Con, I see.
Yeah, I got my sword, got Matt and the Raven up there, other things that I've had longer. Nice Watt banner there that, when I say banner, people, I'm talking about our name tags that end up getting really long because everybody wants to put a ribbon on.
Yeah, so. Rach and I are over that way. You can't see them off screen.
And of course, I've got the sword up positioned where it's open a little. If you could zoom in, you'd see the bird etched on the blade. But anyways.
The pigeon, right?
Waterfowl. Let's go with waterfowl. Yes. What are you drinking today, Zach?
As the container would suggest, I made myself a nice little Moscow Mule because I had some ginger beer in the house and saw the container sitting there, and I went, I can make this in 3 minutes.
Very appropriate. Well, I didn't try making something today. I'm just drinking wine. I've got a... What did I open? Let me think now. This is a... Oh, that's funny. It's a red wine.
Really? I thought it was white.
No, it's a Mary Hill Syrah. It's nice, dark.
Part of me wants to believe that it's not that, and you say it's that because you're covering and you have no idea what it actually is.
No, it finally came back to me there. It's the kind, though, it's so dark and rich, it'll leave my tongue, stained, practically black. It's already started, and I've only had a few sips. Yeah, but that's what a good wine will do. There was a time I enjoyed a really good dark red wine the day before a routine dentist appointment. And the dentist, the hygienist, was freaked out. What's wrong with your tongue? I can't get this stuff off. Can I try? I'm like,
no, it's just wine.
Let it go.
It's just wine.
Yeah, that's what I explained. But I've made a point never to drink red wine the day before dentist anymore because they get somewhat disturbed. All right. That's what we're drinking today. Got a few notes before we jump into our 2 chapters from the Fires of Heaven today. First off, welcome to all of our newer YouTube subscribers. I mean, we love all of you that have been with us for months and months and months.
Absolutely.
But as we today record episode 200 for our channel, we're approaching very quickly 300 YouTube subscribers. Yeah. Now, today, as of this recording, we're at 276. We've been picking up about a subscriber a day for the past few months now. So, we're tracking pretty quick. And the speed's increasing. So, we're slightly over a subscriber a day. Anyways, We love it. Thank you for spreading the word.
People don't really track as like 1.2 people a day because it's really hard to have 0.2 of a person.
And we don't really want like just a forearm. We want the whole person.
Yeah, I guess.
Of course, some of what's helping us pick up new subscribers is that we don't just do episodes like this, long ones, though this won't be super long, but we do a lot of short ones too, and we need to get you back on for some of your short form ones, book blasts and such.
Got a couple of things to talk about when I've got the time to actually like coordinate that.
And that's the key, when you've got the time. Everybody, as you look at our YouTube channel, you can tell who has more of a life right now and who sits around the house a lot more. Just measure whose face do you see more often on those episodes. There you go.
Look, you've got a life. It just involves being around the house.
And this now is my primary hobby. I don't video game. I don't go out with my girlfriend. And that's good because your mother would get really upset.
Yeah, she wouldn't be happy with you.
She was happy with me yesterday. We celebrated her birthday. It's always nice to have another name day.
Yeah, 29 again.
Absolutely. And we will never say a difference. Let's see. I've got just a couple other things, notes. One of the authors that I enjoy and I featured some content about is Nicholas Sansbury Smith. I did a recent Book Blast episode on his Helldivers series, and he particularly liked the episode. He interacted with me on Twitter over it, and I thought that was kind of cool. He shared it out on his social media pages. Helldivers series, by the way, very good. Go check out that Book Blast episode. It's a great series. It's probably my favorite by him. I've read other things like the Extinction Cycle of his, a close second. But there are others too I've read. Just go read it. Helldivers. It's not zombie apocalypse. It is dystopian futuristic stuff, though. It's very cool. So the other comment before we talk about what we're reading right now is that, as I said, this is episode 200. Now, when we did episode 100, it was a big celebration thing. We did singing, and it was a very unique, different kind of episode. We're not doing that today. It's not because we're now cool going, 200, it's nothing. No, I mean, this is a milestone. This is kind of fun.
No, because 200 is just a number. I mean, 100's cool. Then we get 250. Then we get 500. So, like, the hundreds, no, I'm mostly kidding.
There's more to it. What it is our commitment to keep Wheel of Time content coming out in a reasonable pacing. We were due to have another one of these out. So this one hits now. 201 is then our upcoming This or That live game for June. So that kind of takes a slot that's reserved. So we will use episode 202 to celebrate having 200 episodes already out. So it'll be silly and stupid and fun, and I don't really know what we're gonna do yet, but I have plans starting to shape.
Enough, and if you just like left the numbers off of 195 to 205, no one would know it's not the right episode, so it's fine.
All right, what are you reading, Zach, right now?
Admittedly, in this front, I'm a little lame. These last
that's like 2 episodes weeks, in a row you said that. Oh no.
The last 2 weeks have been a little nuts for me, so I've continued reading what I have been, but I've had very sporadic times where I've been able to like sit down and read, so I haven't actually finished any more books. By the next time we talk after this, I might have 3 books to just throw out there, but right now I've got nothing. What about you, Dad?
Well, this could explain why all the books that are in our background are ones that I'm reading or have read. So just below me on the graphic is the book for Brent Weeks' newest Night Angel book, Nemesis. Excuse me.
Yeah, that one's right here.
Yeah. I kind of got a slow start into it because, I have it in paper, in hardcover, and it's a big honking book. And honestly, I don't enjoy holding a book that big anymore.
I like big books, and I cannot lie.
I know, there it is. Yeah, but that's not me anymore. That's not my style. So that caused me to procrastinate a little bit. And then when I started trying to read it, I wasn't getting into it right away. partly because it'd been a chunk of time since I read the previous 3 books.
Hmm.
I'm far enough into it now that
you're
I've
back
kind of
hooked?
reconnected and re-engaged with the series. So I'm like, hey, yeah, cool. All right, this is fun now. And I am fully enjoying reading Night Angel Nemesis. I also have finished Lisey's story by Stephen King, and so moved on to another Stephen King book, sort of,
Mhm.
which is Blaze. It's his last under his pseudonym Richard Bachman, which he actually quit using in the 80s, but he found this book. He wrote it back in the 70s. It was buried away, and he decided, I'll publish it around 2005. He cleaned it up, tightened it up, published it, and then still put Richard Bachman on it. But there's a little meta. There's a foreword by Stephen King. He did the foreword for his own pseudonym's book. Yeah, whatever. So far, it's a pretty entertaining book. And I did just recently finish What's Up Here, The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman.
Mm-hmm.
That was an interesting fantasy one. I also just recently finished The Master Harper of Pern. I can't put my finger into your window. Look at that. It just disappears.
I got you. It's right here.
Thank you. The Master Harper of Pern, book 15 of the Pern series. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed that. I think that sums up all my reading. Nope. Oh my goodness. How did I leave out the last one? Because it's right down here.
Right down there.
Yeah, I've moved back into Malazan. So book 3 of Malazan, Memories of Ice.
I don't know. Just move us out of the way. You'll see it.
I can't do that right now. I think that's what it's called, Memories of Ice. I'm about 5% in, and it's terrific already. Boom. Okay. That's our reading then. Very good. Let's talk about stuff we read a long time ago and are now rehashing and diving deep in. Book 5 of The Wheel of Time, The Fires of Heaven.
Once we finish book 5, we'll get back to stuff that we've read a long time ago, but we haven't read that long ago. Because I did pause my rereading for the sake of not getting too far ahead.
Yeah. Well, we're on chapter 39 and chapter 40 today. Chapter 39 of The Fires of Heaven is called Encounters in Samara. And this is picking up right where we left off in the last chapter. Nynaeve and Uno are entering the city of Samara. And Nynaeve is noting as they're walking into the city how unseasonably hot it still is. There have been a number of comments about that over the course of the book, and I think they even got first mentioned in the previous book. It's so hot. Why is it not, when is it going to break into fall?
A little bit of something that is noticed, but not always noticed, because half the time we're over in the Aiel Waste, and it's it's always hot there.
This is true.
But when we were in Tanchico, and then since then, and all the traveling, it's no, it's the equivalent of we're moving into October, November, and it's still hot. Why is it not fall?
So we want to point out that Jordan keeps having characters mention this over and over. There's a reason. So first-time readers, don't forget that. Now, inside the city, it's chaos. Tons of people from all over the place. All different nationalities seem to be represented. Even the sea folk are on display. I mean, there's all sorts of people, and they're bustling and moving and pushing, and there's all sorts of activities happening from businesses and people hawking their wares out in the streets, the occasional soldier, white cloak, even beggars, alms for the poor. There's street performers out there juggling and, swallowing fire or whatever. Nothing as good as Tom does, but still, cheap entertainment right out on the street. To Nynaeve, it's like a blah in the face. Mm-hmm. There's so much going on, but
very overstimulating.
Right? Uno, he expected this, so he kind of now takes the lead. Remember, he had changed his mind outside the city, and he was going to take her back to the menagerie.
Let's not go see the prophet.
And she was like, keep up, and she just marched on in. Well, okay, now we're going to switch tables a little again. He grabs her by the arm and leads her out of this mass chaos, down a side street, down to where it gets a little quieter. There's still people, but now without there being a press of bodies that are crazy, it's easier to keep some space. Uno, in particular, is able to keep the worst of the people away. How does he just naturally have that gift, Zach?
I mean, there's a couple of things that go together here. He's not particularly attractive of an individual.
Hey, what do you mean by that?
He is bad looking, but rather he is detracting. He has a generally gruff demeanor. He's perfected the one-eyed glare, permanent scowl. Not to mention the walking around with a sword looking like you know how to use it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Most
Dude means
people
business.
A little bit at bay.
Nynaeve's a little ticked at him as she sees him, like, anytime someone moves close, he literally does. It scares anyone off. She's like, I don't really need you to be so overprotective. She doesn't say it. She's a little miffed that he seems to feel like she needs that.
Like, I know they never say he does this, but I always like to imagine that every now and then one particularly quote-unquote brave person, probably dared by someone else to approach, comes over and just flips the eye patch up and glares with the gaping socket.
Wiggle the tongue of the same. Exactly. Kid screams, wets his pants, all that stuff. Yeah. What is Nynaeve's goal? Why are they pushing on into the city? What is she trying to accomplish?
Well, she knows that she's up against a ticking clock a little bit, with Mogideon chasing after them, knowing they're with the menagerie. And so she's like, look, we got here. There's a river. Let's get a boat. Let's get a boat and go.
A boat.
Yeah.
Very, very good. You sure it wasn't a Ryvar boat?
I mean, it could be. Look, I don't think they've invented steam power, but Willie could be...
Sorry, Siri's talking in my ear. I don't know why. Stop. Go away. I can't... It's like when she starts talking to me, I can't hear you. She just, I don't know, overcomes the conversation.
I mean, you can just turn her off. Do you ever use her?
She's still hovering in the corner like she's waiting to say something again, but she's not. And no, I never use her that way on here, so I probably should turn her off.
Just turn the setting off.
Yeah, not right now. Anyways, I have no idea what you said. Your mouth was moving, but I couldn't hear it.
End of the day, they're getting a river boat.
Oh, okay, that is where we were.
Yeah, no, we were on Steamboat Willie. It's fine.
Okay. You said it was because Mogideon is chasing them, and that is part of it, but there's another reason Nynaeve is really motivated to get a boat as soon as possible. You remember what that is?
You mean beyond the fact that she really doesn't want to keep performing?
Oh, it's all about that. Yeah, she doesn't want those sharp objects flying at her any longer than necessary. It hasn't happened other than in practice so far, but she's just dreading this idea.
And I'm sure it has nothing to do with the outfit she's wearing right now.
And yes, she is flaunting that outfit, as a matter of fact.
It's a fine outfit. She hates it. She'd prefer not to be in it, at least in this setting.
Now, somebody else steps up beside them, kind of out of nowhere, who I'm sure doesn't mind the outfit on her either. It's another one of the Shanarans, Reagan. You might remember Reagan. He was one of the crowd that was named all the way back in Faldara.
Correct me if I'm wrong, or rather, correct me when I'm wrong. But at one point, way back, Rand tried to leave Faldara and was told no by two guards at a gate, and it was Massima and Reagan.
Good callback. Yes, that is true. It is not wrong. Reagan does know what Nynaeve is up to as well, very quickly, gets this understanding of what, and concurs with Uno. Yeah, Massima will probably get you a ship. Just don't mention Tarvalon, your connection with the island and all those people. And he says very clearly why you should definitely not mention that is Massima believes the tower will try to control the Lord Dragon.
I mean, he's not probably wrong.
Probably not.
But it's also the second time Nynaeve's being told, don't mention Tarvalon. Probably a good call not to mention it.
Probably. They do make it to where Masima is staying. It's a really nice place in town that he's just kind of moved into, but you can't get to the front of the entrance. There's a whole bunch of toughs, guards, keeping people back. Apparently, there's a lot of looky-loos who would love to be able to peek in through a window and see, oh, the prophet, the prophet. So they keep everyone well and clear away. Nynaeve's looking at these guards, and she's like, they all look a little nuts.
Yeah.
They've got crazy eyes, crazy eyes.
They're like one small toss away from being rabid dogs.
They go around the back. Uno says, this is the way we can actually access it. And kind of like, okay, let's do that. Well, there's more guards back there, and they look just as crazy, but these guards will let them in. Nynaeve does not like the way the guards look at her, because they don't seem to look at her like some particular woman or a woman in skimpy attire or anything. They just look at her like an object. Just one more thing they need to keep their eye on, and she's nothing special.
They're objectifying, but not in the objectifying sense.
Right. It's part of them being a little bit of fanatically on mission. Period. It's disturbing.
It's weird. The best comp I can say here is that they're looking at her like you would expect a white cloak to look at her. Which is not good, because these guys aren't the white cloaks.
No. Now, another part of what's disturbing to Nynaeve here is that Uno and Reagan, they don't even skip a beat here. As they walk up to the guards, they start taking all their weapons off and turning them in. And she's like, why are you surrendering your weapons? Why are they surrendering their weapons, Zach?
Well, because at this point, none of the armed guards who would love to use their weapons at any chance they get are going to let anyone come see the prophet armed. Clearly, Uno, Reagan, they've been here before. They know this. They know the drill. But it's because this didn't used to be the way. People did used to come armed sometimes. And then they tried to kill Masima. And then it was like, okay, maybe we don't let people with weapons approach this person that we are giving a fanatical loyalty toward.
Yeah. But Nynaeve's like, but wait a second, you guys are his friends. I mean, you all came from Faldara together. Even you have to surrender your weapons? They're like, honestly, the fact we're friends is the only way we even get in. So don't make us think about the weapons.
You got to know a guy, Nynaeve.
Once they get into Masima, they oversee him finishing up with a noblewoman of some sort who's practically kissing the ground he walks on while trying to get some concessions from him to help with some issues around the city. Lawlessness that's going on, a lack of food. They're kind of running short on supplies. What do we learn about Masima through this encounter? And then his following conversation with the Shinarans and Nynaeve. What kind of things did you pick up on that we get from about Masima?
Masima has taken on a certain level of a zealous stance within a power vacuum, and he is using it to his advantage to push his agenda.
And he only has one agenda.
Specifically, the agenda is praise be the prophet and the Lord Dragon. All praise to the Lord Dragon. I am just the prophet that leads the way to the Lord Dragon, who we must be there for the end of days, which is nigh. And it's very much like all on the Lord Dragon. Except, like, there's no real talk about, like, what Rand's doing or wants or anything. It's like, no, the Lord Dragon. And it's like, and that means do what I say. Okay.
Masima has been the one who winnows down what would be the activities, the choices, the behaviors that align with all praise to the Lord Dragon and supporting the Lord Dragon. And anything that has nothing to do with the Lord Dragon, he doesn't care about. But that's kind of a fine point, a fine line of things, because Masima, you get from his conversations here that either things align with following and supporting the Lord Dragon, or they interfere with you focusing on the Lord Dragon and therefore don't do those things, give up those things. There's very little that's I can just turn the other way and pay no attention.
It's very Anakin Skywalker. If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there's one other thing that comes through pretty quick here in the way this conversation goes.
Yeah.
And that's that Masima's bloody insane.
Oh, we already knew that.
Yeah, it's very clear. What did you think about his interaction with Nynaeve about the way she's dressed? Because I thought this part of the chapter was hilarious. You know, he's not at all happy to see her cleavage. He's like, that is completely inappropriate. Now, what does she think of her dress? Remind us.
She's
completely inappropriate,
and it's all that. But at the same time, who the hell are you to tell Nynaeve what she can and she can't do?
Which is exactly what she starts saying to him as Uno and Reagan are trying to, like, not choke, collapse. What the heck are you doing, woman?
Look, at the end of the day, she has her sensibilities and what she believes is proper, and that dress is not it. But also, she's a strong, confident woman who does not need you dictating what she can and can't do. So back off.
Right. Yeah. Side comment, I'm noting I'm getting jumpy at times too, so I'm wondering now if it's my internet connection that's the issue and not yours. How about
a bit
that?
Of both, probably.
It's crazy if that's the case. I checked my speed earlier and it was off the hook. Awesome. And apparently maybe now it isn't. Like you're frozen right now, but maybe on your end, I'm the one that's frozen. I don't know. All right. That interaction about the dress, we do get past. As Uno and Reagan, they turn the focus on, remember, this is Nynaeve, the one who grew up with the Lord Dragon in the Two Rivers, and in fact was almost like a mother to him. And she's partly like, say what? But she doesn't externalize that. She just rolls with it. And it does win some concessions out of Masima. Like, he moves past the way she's dressed and gets on to, that's right, you grew up with him. You could come and talk to the crowds about the Lord Dragon as a young child and about his first miracles. And she's like, what?
You know what? Yeah, I could go in front of the crowds and tell everybody how we switched his hide when he did something naughty. Yeah, sure.
And yet she, quick on her feet, finds a way to use this. When she says, well, I would love to do that. Do those things. Say those things.
But however, I'm going to lie to you real fast.
The Lord Dragon has summoned me to join him in Tyr, and I need to get there because when the Lord Dragon says something, we must obey. And inside, she's throwing up a little bit and thinking, I am so going to get Rand for this.
Yeah, it's a great moment where it's like, I'm going to punish Rand. For what?
The poor guy.
Masima being crazy? Rand didn't ask for this. The only thing he really did for this was leave.
But it does work. He's like, oh, you are so right. If he has summoned, yes, you must get there. And we will have to find a way to make that happen. Okay.
We will get you that boat if we have to burn the city down to do it.
Yeah, she's like, so you do you have a boat I can use? Boats aren't important to me. Blessed be the Lord Dragon. But I need a boat. Well, I'm sure somebody must know one. I'll watch for it.
To give up their boat for the Lord Dragon.
That's right, pretty much. We'll see that you get a boat and are on your way to the Lord Dragon as soon as possible. And with that, Uno and Reagan drag her away. Now she's ready to like lay into Masima a little more for his dismissiveness of her, and And as they pull her out, she turns that on them. How dare you talk about me the way you did? And like Rand is and I'm just this second fiddle. And well, what is all this crap? And they're like, woman, you do not know how narrowly you just avoided big time issues. For example, you're not married. Thank goodness Masema didn't think of that. He puts people together left and right because they should be making more little babies for the Lord Dragon. The dude is crazy.
Honestly, who needs Taviran to like bend fate and cause more marriages in a town? You could just have Masema come and dictate it.
Yep. They also mentioned Masema has a conniving kind of way to get some things done that he wants done. Like he could have, looking at Nynaeve, said something like, again, about that dress, somebody should do something about the attire you're wearing. It's really not appropriate. And by making a comment like that, those fanatical people who are around, they hear things like that, and you're going to get mobbed, and they're going to rip all the clothes off of you, tar and feather you, and run you out of town. I mean, something like that happens all the time around here. They give a few examples. Nynaeve's like, how can this keep going on? I mean, where's the queen in all of this, stepping in and setting things right? They said, well, you actually met the queen. Remember that noble woman at the beginning, kowtowing to him? That was Queen Alejandra of Gildan.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, this is where we go back to the power vacuum thing. It's like, yeah, that's the queen. But this was a queen trying to put a nation back together after Logain had ripped it apart with war. And then it was like, hey, maybe we don't want a queen anymore. It was a whole mess. In come the prophet, who has more power than the queen now.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Nynaeve is very dismissive then of the queen. Really? That's the queen? She's not doing her job. That's ridiculous. Is she an idiot? And they explained to her a very important story. This is an extremely intelligent, sharp woman. This is a survivor. Because since we've been in Gildan, she's the fourth ruler. She's the only one who's been able to last. The original king, he didn't take Masema seriously. And then, he soon after that died in a hunting accident.
We've never heard of any kings dying in hunting accidents.
Game of Thrones. No, never. The second challenged him with the army. It's like, no. We are going to fix this, bring in the armed forces, put down this Masema prophet garbage. Yeah, Masema's fanatics won, and that ruler, a queen, took poison just after that.
And I mean, it's very possible that she did, but it's also very possible it wasn't exactly voluntary.
Right. The third ruler, another queen, only lasted 10 days. Because when the previous one took poison and now she's the queen, she tries to bring the armed forces in too, and they fail. They cannot stand up against the fanaticism and the massive numbers of the prophet's horde. Alejandra steps up at that point before this one can die too, and marries her off to a rich merchant, so not noble blood, which automatically causes her to abdicate the crown and be unable to step up as a ruler in the future. That's a law in Gildan. Only the nobles can rule, not common folk. And if you marry a common person, no matter how rich they are, you are no longer nobility. You can't rule.
So there's a bit of inbreeding going on in that country.
Possibly.
It's not
like
big
in
enough
many
not
countries, to. Many of the ruling families over the years in our world. But Alejandra basically takes over then as queen, but not only did she take over as queen, she just saved that one's life because she got her out of the way before she could be killed, just like the first two. And in a manner where she's definitely not a threat to rule anymore. She's off living in the country now with her husband, who probably didn't want to do this in the first place. Alejandra just kind of shoved him into it. Here, have this hot young thing. You guys get hitched. You're out of here. Boom. Like I said, 10 days. She's no longer ruling. Alejandra, right away, summoned Masima to the castle, her palace, and said, there will be no more challenges to your authority. Feel free to speak and praise the Lord Dragon here in Gildan. And has continued to meet with him numerous times, but that was the only time in her palace. Now she comes to Masima. And yeah, you saw her bowing, scraping, taking off gold and leaving it for him. And she at least has managed to pull Gildan back from the brink of civil war and establish some peace and stability in the midst of Masima's fanatics.
Is it great? Not necessarily. Are people actively, constantly killing each other? Not currently.
The chapter ends with the realization as they've been walking along, they've left Masima's place. Uno and Regan are giving all this information to Nynaeve, but at this point they realize they have a tail. And the tail is all in white. Nynaeve looks back. Who's always all in white? Well, that's a white cloak, of course. Mm-hmm. This isn't any old white cloak. Galad has found them.
Good guy, Galad.
Dang it. So, chapter 40, The Wheel Weaves. Nynaeve and the Shanarans try to evade. They're going to try to ditch and lose Galad. Nynaeve is ticked that she even came into the city now. Why did she leave the menagerie? Because this was always a risk. This is why they were going to stay out there, out of sight, until they found a boat. Now Galad's found them.
And at this point, it's kind of too late really to evade him, because Galad's warder trained.
And you're right. They fail. They can't escape. There is a confrontation that takes place at that point. Uno and Regan, they're ready to step up and defend Nynaeve. Galad's like, you want to call off these guys? Because I'd really hate to have to kill them. Now, Nynaeve is frustrated that she has to rely on Uno and Regan for protection at all anyways. She'd rather channel. Why does she need these guys so that she can avoid channeling? What's the deal?
Yeah, because realistically, after talking with Masima, she's mad enough she could channel, right?
How dare he chastise me over my boobs? She's been mad since then. With
Mogideon hot on her tail.
You paused. That was funny. Sorry. That was the crux of it. I'm saying.
Anyway, with Mogideon hot on her tail, she has to be a little careful about, using any power, because it's a nice little signal flare of, hey, look at me, I'm channeling over here. Come find the beacon. Which is also actually a really good thing that Elaine got real good at the high wire tightroping without using the power. Because that would have done the same thing.
Right. Good connection to make there, because we hadn't talked about that before. So Nynaeve agrees to talk to Galad. There's no ducking him now. She turns the conversation right away, though, to where she wants to go. How are you here instead of in Altara, like you said you had orders to go to? And he shakes his head at her. Nynaeve, only you would toss a question in my face that I should be asking you. But yeah, fine. I was supposed to go to Altara. I had orders to go to Saladar, but news of the prophet changed things. And the conversation comes to a screeching halt at this point because of a look that comes over Nynaeve's face. And Galad's like, what? What's wrong? She's like, oh, I'm just shocked at seeing you here. But no. What's the deal, Zach?
What's the deal is Nynaeve remembers what was on that piece of paper so long ago that she couldn't remember. Saladar! It's the place where the Ajas that have been exiled or chosen to remain out from the tower are kind of forming up their own place. And we've seen this.
Now, you're right. We know this. That's not actually what she thinks, though. She only knows a piece of that. She knows that's where the blues are
She knows it's the
gathering.
meeting place of the blues, theoretically.
Yeah, she'll be potentially surprised to find more than blues there when she gets there.
That is what she had seen in Elida's study. And it raises a very interesting point of what do the White Cloaks know that Galad had orders to go to Saladar until Masipa became a bigger problem.
Yeah, remember the name of the chapter? The Wheel Weaves. That was a close thing. Galad doesn't know what Nynaeve and Elaine have gotten themselves caught up in, but he will do what he can to get them out of it. He's still committed to help them. That's what he was going to try to do in the previous town, and they didn't want the kind of help he was going to offer. He says, now, I'm sorry that the only thing I can do, because I have orders, I'm busy here, the only thing I can do is find you a ship and get you heading out of town.
And he was like, done, deal, good, we're good.
Let's do it. He's crushed to only be able to do exactly what they want. Now, of course, his idea is we'll get you on a boat and head you back to Camelin. She's not gonna, split hairs. We'll take a boat headed towards Camelin, sure. It's not where we're gonna go, but he doesn't need to know that. Galad then wants to know, so where are you staying? What inn are you at? So when I find a boat, I can get you the information. And she questions whether she should tell him where they are. I mean, he's a White Cloak. And she says, we are who we are. Meaning what?
That they are channelers, Aes Sedai, all that jazz.
Galad acknowledges at this point. I mean, he's a little ticked. He's like, come on. Seriously? Here I am just trying to help you again. You're going to be all hidey, wimey. What do I have to do to prove myself? Yes, a primary reason I'm a White Cloak now is I do not like how the White Tower used my sister, used you, used Egwene. By the way, you going to tell me where she is?
Nope.
No. They sent you off on a mission doing the light knows what. You clearly couldn't have been prepared yet. It's outrageous. So yes, I ended up with the White Cloaks who maybe know better than these idiots in the White Tower. But he says his care for Elaine supersedes everything else. He would never betray her. So he would never betray them.
Granted, you get a different answer if you asked Elaine that. But that's because the question of what does betrayal look like may be different depending on who you ask.
Nynaeve does decide that Galad would be more faithful to Elaine than his White Cloak oaths, but with a caveat. They're not in Amadicia right now, where being a channeler is illegal. They're across the river. So since he's in Gildan, she figures he can justify not turning them in because he isn't legally bound to turn them in. So she should be able to trust him at the moment.
I really wish that in this chapter we got Galad's point of view, that we got to see what was going on in his head. Because I think this is an oversimplification of his thought processes, and it's unfair to him and the moral dilemmas that he faces.
Fair. But we don't get that point of view. She does decide, I will tell you where we are. You have committed, you won't betray us. He even swore on his mother. I will not. Okay, fine. We're in Val and Luca's menagerie across the river. Wait, no, they're not across the river anymore. Sorry. They're just outside town. So Val and Luca's menagerie outside of town. And he's like, what? You're with those people? It's very disparaging. Galad's like judgy. He somehow seems to think that's below Elaine's station.
Was it earlier, like a previous chapter, that we learned how he feels about menageries, or is that later coming up?
I don't recall, so it must be later coming up.
I thought, like, when they first decided to go with them, that they...
he hates seeing caged animals, wasn't it? Was that a thing?
He's afraid of them. Like, as a kid, he was scared of them.
Yeah. No, we've heard that already.
This is very much like me going, "You're with the circus. Why would you willingly be by clowns?"
Right?
That's what this reaction is.
Oh, but if only he knew how much they are into the menagerie. Can you imagine if he understood Nynaeve was up on a tight wire in hot
Nynaeve
pants?
was not on a tight wire.
I'm sorry, Elaine was up there doing that whole thing with all her form figure clothing on display in their culture.
He might try to put the entire crowd on trial for ogling the daughter heir of Andor.
Well, Nynaeve manages to get away from Galad then. She gives him orders. If you find a boat, come to the town in the evening and ask for Nana. That's the name I'm known by. Just ask for Nana. I will come and you can communicate with us and help us out. I mean, he wants to escort them back to the menagerie. She's like, yeah, how will that play? A white cloak walking in with us might draw attention. Oh, okay, fine. You have an answer for everything. All right.
Well, so now they're excuse, but they're valid.
They're free of Galad now. And as she's walking back to the menagerie, still with Uno and Reagan, she turns on them and says, okay, I want to know, are you with me because Galad told you to take care of me and make sure I don't get hurt, which is something he said as parting words, or because Masema told you to help keep me safe and make sure I get a boat? Who are you answering to?
We gotta love Uno's answer.
Oh, it's classic. It's awesome. He says, I lost my place in my notes. That's not what he says.
No?
No, that's not what he says. Where the heck did I get it? Oh, there it is. He says, what flaming difference does it make?
Yeah, it's a very true statement of like, look, whether it's because this guy told us, or this guy told us, or neither of those reasons, do we really care? Does it matter?
Oh, to Nynaeve, it matters. And she says, okay, if you're going to be with me, it's because you are supporting me, Elaine and I. You are helping us. You are answering to us. You are working for us. If you need money anymore, you come see me. Stop going to Masema. No relying on him. You're working for us. I'll take care of you. Just, this is the connection now. And that means you follow my orders. Okay? You don't answer to Masema. You don't answer to Galad. You answer to me. Otherwise, I don't want to see anything more of you. Well,
something
again,
Nynaeve has trust issues.
Control issues.
A little bit.
Shanarans do have a high standard of caring for women. We learned about this a long time ago. So they're not about to turn their back on her. So fine. We will agree to that. Now, there is something I missed here back in the notes that I do need to go on to. Nynaeve's got a little frustration point that's building for her. This is coming out in how she deals with the Shanarans, and she's a little snippish because she really needs to get a boat. She wants to get to Saladar, now that she remembers the word, because she wants to be done being responsible for everything. This is what's in her mind now. This has just gotten all too complicated. It's such a mess. I want to get to where all those blues are, tell them what we know, and let them make the decisions. She's just exhausted. She's frustrated.
Which, like, I get, but at the same time, I don't see a world that exists where Nynaeve ends up with a bunch of blues and actually lets them make any decisions.
See, I like the way you think. I do.
When has Nynaeve ever let anyone else just make decisions for her?
And this is, I think, mental conflict going on for her. She doesn't want to have to make these decisions, but she doesn't not want to be involved with controlling things. So This
You know
tension is causing her to get even more irritable, is what's coming out.
I think the bigger problem is not so much that she doesn't want to make decisions. That's what she's rationalizing. But this goes back to Birgitte. This goes back to her making decisions.
And it all fell apart.
Is causing this. It leads to problems. It leads to ripping a hero of the Horn out of the pattern.
See what happens when I'm in charge?
And so she very much is struggling with her own decision making and going, I need to not be in control. I need to not. But it is not her to be like that.
So she's cornered Uno and Reagan. She's put her demands on them. Maybe she wouldn't have been so harsh about it, except she's so frustrated and challenged right now. And they're like, okay, we agree. And we're sure the other 15 will agree as well. It's like, say what? So there are 18 of the Shannarans left from those who were sent here after Falme. There were 19 originally. One died. They apologized for if that troubled her when he told her. And then there's Massima. And then there's 2. Oh, is my number
that's
off?
not
15,
math.
16,
20
17,
is the total.
18, 19, 20. Thank you. Yes.
20 is the total. I was like, where's your math going?
Yeah, there were 20. Okay. One's dead. One's Massima. 2 of them have totally fallen into the fanaticism following Massima. Which leaves...
then there's 21.
My number's wrong again.
If
21.
If one
this is not a math episode.
If one died, there's 21. Because
there were 21.
At the end of the day, there's the 2 of them there right now. There's 15 others that are still good, loyal Shannarans. There's Massima. There's 2 that are his hounds.
And then one more.
Dead.
So there were 21. But what he's revealing now is there's 17 of us who will all be ready to get out of Dodge, come with you, follow you on your mission, get you safely back to the Lord Dragon who has summoned you, because they think she does. They don't realize she lied, you know.
Which on the one hand is very good. On the other hand, Nynaeve just said that you have to rely on us entirely, and she's now committing to quarter.
She's cringing how much money this means now.
So expensive.
How many? Gotta pay all these people. Nynaeve arranges a similar deal with them then that she did with Galad. Go away, find us a boat. If you need anything, come report. Stop in the evening, ask for Nana, and I will come and talk with you. And maybe just stop in once a day. Give me an update on how we're doing. So that's a little different than Galad. She doesn't want to hear from Galad until Galad's got something to share. But these people will be answering to her, so she wants to tighten the connection a little bit. But again, in the evening, don't ask for Nynaeve. Keep it on the down low. The code is Nana. No attention brought on us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they leave. Nynaeve walks into the menagerie, and Elaine and Birgitte come right up to her. They are not happy she had disappeared. Now, word got out that she got drug out of the menagerie by some bald, ugly, brawly dude.
I mean, it's not incorrect.
It's not. Luca heard about this. He's like, oh, sure. She likes big, ugly, brawly men. Fine. Gets some of his men, though, and goes searching for her. She apparently likes the rough stuff, was a comment he made. I'll show her rough stuff. What's in his mind? He's like, she went off with some guy who's more her type?
Yeah, what's in his mind is something that you don't like talking about on this podcast.
Yeah. It's like, I've been taking the whole approach wrong, man. Okay. Going off with Luca and his men is Tom and Julian. So none of these guys are around now. They're all trying to find and save Nynaeve, who didn't need any saving.
Well, if she wasn't mad enough to channel before, she is now.
She brings Elaine and Birgitte up to speed on all that she accomplished while she was out, who she was out with, who she talked to. So the bit with Massima, the bit with Galad, they're all like, oh, and they absorb this. And Birgitte's like, cool. All right. Sounds like we'll have a boat soon. Nice job. Elaine's like, are you serious? And what's the part that bothers Elaine the most? It's not shocking.
Galad?
Yeah. It's like, and she really questions and bears down a little bit. And it's like, he really swore on our mother not to betray us? Okay. I'm pretty sure that's one he wouldn't break. Okay. The other thing Elaine narrows in on is Saladar. Galad says Saladar, and suddenly you remember that's the word. Doesn't that sound kind of convenient?
I mean, one, yes, but two, this is a series that lives off of coincidence and convenience, which isn't just coincidence and convenience.
Elaine clearly needs to check the title of the chapter.
3, that's how that works. When you can't remember something, someone else prompting it, something getting there, triggering your memory to remember, that's normal. Have you never forgotten and then remembered something, Elaine? Like, is this new to you? Do you just not remember things? Or do you not forget things? Which one is it?
As the chapter closes in towards an end, Nynaeve has to go forward with the act that she and Birgitte do. She's like, really? We still have to do that? And Birgitte's like, yeah, and like right now, unless you really want me to shoot at you when the sun has set. Fine. So they go and do it. Birgitte shoots arrows all around and near Nynaeve, and Nynaeve's like, but she lives through it. She hates every moment of it, but she lives through it.
You know, they're really thinking about stepping up their act and having Nynaeve hold a cherry between her teeth and shoot it out sideways.
I think what Nynaeve hates more than the act is her fear of doing it. Nynaeve hates feeling weak. That goes against her whole identity. But she owes Birgitte, so she has to do it. Wearing this stupid dress.
And Birgitte's going to continue to be upset that Nynaeve's going to treat it as she has to do it because she owes her.
Making it through it, she has no appetite. She doesn't want to eat anything. She's thinking, that's it. I'm just so exhausted. But there is one other thing that happens, and that she gets a message. She's asked to come out to the edge of the menagerie. There's someone asking for Nana. So out she goes, and there's Uno. Just checking in. No boat yet, but all the guys are in with you. Like I said. She's like, okay, good. Thank you. Now, get back to the city and pressure Massima as much as you feel to, make sure he gets a boat. And then go find Galad and urge him on too. Make sure he understands how important it is we get out of here as fast as possible. And off he goes.
She just wants to do that act as little as possible.
And then she tells Birgitte and Elaine, I don't feel well. I'm going to turn in. And she doesn't feel well. But it's not that she's sick. She's literally feeling shame and terror that she could have to perform again and again and again because a boat won't come for a week, 2 weeks, a month. And she just cannot handle that. Please, please, a boat has to come soon. That's what she drifts off to sleep, agonizing over. And that's the end of our chapter and the end of our episode. At least as far as spoiler-free, spoiler-like content is. So if you're a first-time viewer here, first-time reader of The Wheel of Time, you've only made it this far, this is where we bid you a fond adieu. Thanks for being here, and we'll talk to you next time. Everyone else, stick around, because we're going to spoil something now.
I kind of want to start bidding people a fondue.
I had fondue last night.
Did you? The
It was a
chocolate or the cheese kind?
It was a cheesy fish fondue.
The cheese kind. Cool.
Yeah, not chocolate.
Because chocolate's like not really fondue anymore, but it's still like the idea.
This was a cheese fondue, yeah. Part of Mom's dinner out for her birthday.
Nice.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to roll a die because we're going to figure out who gets to spoil something first. Let's do it.
Do you want to play our little graphic, or do we not have it today?
Oh! No, I should play the little graphic. Here it comes.
The spoiler room. Fun fact, third book of Malazarn is indeed Memories of Ice.
Good. I remembered the right name.
I saw it real fast as we went there.
Good. I think you're going first because I rolled a 4.
I am, but I thought I was... So we roll a d20, right?
Yeah.
I read it upside down first and was like, how did I roll a 21? And then realized it's a 12.
Yeah.
So I'm going for the lowest hanging fruit from these chapters.
Okay.
There will be a boat, and fairly soon. But Nynaeve just screwed the entire town. Like, literally the entire town, possibly the country. Because she said, hey, people on this side of the conflict, get me a boat. And hey, people on this side of the conflict, get me a boat. And made it like priority number 1 for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
In a way where neither are going to back down. So when a boat does arrive, it basically starts a war.
Yeah.
So the tentative piece that is going on where, yeah, it's not great because Massima's there and there's tensions already. Like, that's all going on. Nynaeve's what ruins it. Yes, eventually it would have probably boiled over anyways. But she expedites it. She expedites the process of this chaos.
Now, for my spoil, I want to talk about the Queen of Gildan. We just met her. Mm-hmm. Her introduction into the series, Alejandra. We're going to see much more of her as the series goes along.
Yeah.
But what we learned about her right here is huge for what we will see her do later. She has demonstrated she cares about her people. She does not care about her needs, her rights and privileges. She is willing to abase herself if it will bring safety, food, peace to the people of Gildan. So later on, when she encounters Perrin and his people, she agrees to take him on as her liege lord.
Mm-hmm.
She basically turns the whole freaking country of Gildan over to Perrin. She's the queen, but now she bows to him because she believes he and his people and the connection to the Lord Dragon, the real dragon, the one who actually, cares, will be good for the people of Gildan.
Which is
never for Alejandra about herself and her rights. She is truly the rare politician. She is selfless.
Now, I will say, there's a tiny piece that is for herself, which is that she is a survivor. She's going to keep the nation around, but she's also going to do her best to keep herself alive so she can continue doing good.
Siding with Perrin is protection against Massima. Yeah, that's part of it too. So anyways, we'll see more of Alejandra. It's great that we had this. This was a great way to meet her. And I loved the reveal to Nynaeve. Yeah, that was the queen.
And there's enough of a gap before the next time that we really encounter her that if you're not paying attention, you're like, have we met this person before? We have.
Yeah, right here. All right. That's all I got. You got anything else then, Zach?
I'm good.
Let me play our outro then to remind people of all the ways they can get a hold of us. We would love to connect with you. We have a Discord channel. The link to join it is down in the show notes. Come hang out with us and about 100 other people right now who are in Discord and chit-chatting about whatever nonsense we feel like.
Sci-fi, fantasy, humor.
Yeah. The other ways, social media is there. We do have a Patreon page. Hosting this actually costs us money. We have some faithful patrons who support us all the time. We should mention them again at some point. So I'll say one right now. Eric Hahn, thank you for your patronage. We got to shout you all out again. Anybody else want to join the patron crowd? Look in the show notes. Find us there. Thank you for thinking about it. And for the rest of you, thanks for being here. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.